Sports Illustrated dropped a brand new mock draft, so I am here to review it. What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video. And so if you are new, feel free to join the community. Like, comment, subscribe if you like this type of draft stuff, because we're getting back on a roll. Let's look at this. You guys get to see below my face all of my thoughts and opinions. And if you guys want to wait and see more in-depth opinions, I have videos coming out. Just dropped tight ends. You guys can go check that out. Defensive line, edge rusher. Most of the positions are already out, so you guys can go check that out. Interior offensive line will be coming soon. Linebackers and safeties after that. So, very exciting stuff. Starting off with the number 1 overall pick, the Rams. Quickly checking to see what the hell. You guys can see how they organized the draft order, but I have the Rams at number 1 as well. I don't know, after seeing that Jonathan Gannon speech, how confident I am that they'll even win a game, but the Rams end up with Caleb Williams. It's nice to not just see the Cardinals here. So kind of cool to, see something different for once. Not really, because, Caleb Williams is going number 1 in all drafts. But if the Rams are here and they take him, that's the best thing they can do for their franchise. I have a big issue with probably the 2 top teams at the top of the draft. I would say if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm either going to stay in school until a more respectable organization is there, or I would end up just saying, I'm not playing for y'all. Because I wouldn't want to play for the Rams. I wouldn't want to play for the Cardinals. Unfortunately, I hate to say that to y'all, but, it is what it is. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback I've ever studied. Just his playmaking ability alone is worth taking a flyer on at number 1, but there's a lot of other great traits. Then you got the Cardinals going Marvin Harrison Jr., very excited that the Cardinals did the right thing here. I think if they have the number 1 pick and they don't have the number 2 pick, I would still potentially go after Marvin Harrison Jr. He is truly that special of a receiver, and he potentially boosted his speed up to that 23 mile per hour mark, which is top tier. Titans go Olu Fashanu. Don't know why the hell it's like this spaced out. Like, I love seeing Olu. I love giving respect to the players, but homie, this is not prime graphics material. Like, we'll shrink it down just a little bit. There we go. Makes it a little bit better for us. Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I don't think the Titans are going to go back-to-back drafts going after offensive linemen, and he's a completely different style than Peter Skoronski. You want more of a mauler type, and Olu's definitely going to be more of that finesse and more the skilled based rather than, okay, that's a bit extreme. Skill-based, like all these guys are skilled, but he's going to use a lot more finesse and technique to his game than pure power. Skoronski is somebody who was able to use his power and his stability to his as a major asset and his primary asset in his game. Olu has a poor anchor. He has to use technique to win the rep. And, still love Olu Fashanu. Like, there's no doubt about that. He's a great tackle. He still is in my top 25. But I would say hold off on crowning this guy just yet. Speaking of holding off on crowning a guy, Drake May, I continue to believe he's going to end up rising up to my number 2 quarterback. But I give you guys honest opinions based off of what I have seen. And last year, it was his first year starting. Again, I do believe he might end up and probably will end up being my number 2 quarterback. He's my number 4 at the moment. Not that hard to quickly jump up to 2 from number 4. But it was just the inconsistency. There's a lot of inconsistent placement on the ball. You look at the stats and, it doesn't line up for when you're actually watching how he plays. Still has unbelievable top-end plays. Like, unbelievable. But you have to, football's an every down game. And especially, there's a thing saying a wide receiver will be hyped up for 1 out of 20 reps that he wins. A cornerback will be shamed for the 1 out of the 20 reps that he loses. And, it's similar to a quarterback. They'll be hyped up, sure, for maybe 2 out of those 20 reps that they win. But it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. You have to be a down-to-down guy. If you continue making mistakes or putting the ball slightly off, the window's closed in the NFL. So definitely a worry for me, but still an amazing quarterback. Again, people think I'm crapping on him. I'm just saying let's temper expectations, because this guy is a bona fide guaranteed number 2 quarterback in the draft. And some people are trying to say that he's better than Caleb Williams. And let's not even get to that realm of the universe. It's just not there. But more importantly, let's just pipe down on the guarantees here. So excited to see what he's going to do. I think that it's Devontae Walker who came in as a transfer. Excited to see that he's at least getting a weapon because he lost Josh Downs as well. But still, let's just hold the horses. I think if the Raiders are here at number 4, going Drake May is a great choice. But again, just have to temper expectations there. New England Patriots going Jared Verse. I think it's a perfectly fine move. They just brought in my former high school quarterback, Matt Corral. So maybe they actually have a potential future there. I don't know if the Patriots have been in the top 5 ever. Or like at least since like the 90s or something. I remember there's some crazy stat like the Steelers and Patriots have not been in the top 5 for a very, very long time. But the Patriots going Jared Verse here. He fits exactly the bill for him too. He does kind of feel a little bit like Matt Judon to me. I forget what Matt Judon weighs because I know that Verse is around that 250 mark. He might be a bit lighter, but converts speed to power extremely well. To me, he is the best pure pass rusher of the class. Has had injury concerns in the past, and injury concerns as in he had a major injury that set back his game. He didn't miss very much time last year, but you can tell that there was a significant drop-off in his ability due to that ankle injury last year. It was unfortunate, but you can definitely tell his motor is never ending. That's a perfect thing for Bill Belichick. It's like you have a guy who's willing to put in the work. He's an awesome player. I'm not going to shame him at all. Again, he's my number 8 player in the draft. But again, I have to, when there's all this glowing praise for a prospect, I just got to let you guys know they're not Jesus, right? Like they're not the second coming now. There are some concerns. And one of those is the fact that we haven't fully seen him healthy against high-level linemen. He started out really hot versus freshman LSU tackles, and he did a great job, and I love that. Again, number 8 player. He's awesome. He's a blue chipper, but I want to see a bit more before I crown him above a guy who's 20 pounds heavier or a guy who's way more versatile and Dallas Turner, who could be even just a pure coverage linebacker. Next, we got the Colts going Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. I fully support this pick. Love it. I think that Bernard Ryman was never a guy who I was a big fan of. So seeing Joe Alt replace him, who is my number 1 graded offensive tackle, is going to be something I fully support. Cardinals, I don't think Houston's going to be at 7. I think they're going to be a little bit higher. But going Dallas Turner is a great choice. Pairing him back up with Will Anderson, I haven't even thought about that. That's a sick idea. Because I honestly like guys like Jonathan Grenard, who they have as depth. But, man, Dallas Turner starting out with Grenard as just pure depth that sounds great to me. It does. I love Dallas Turner with all my heart. And he can actually play there. He's also going to be with Henry Teotihuacan. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans, I believe, is an Alabama former linebacker too. So you're just building Bama defense up, even though they did not win the championship over the past couple of years. But talent-wise, they have the dudes. And I'd love just seeing him paired back up with Will Anderson. Broncos going Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he's honestly comped. In my opinion, I'm going to eventually switch it to Pat Surtain. So, this is a pretty good fit, pretty damn good fit there to get pretty much 2 Pat Surtains. And a corner is an extremely valuable position. I'm never going to shame it. JT Tuimalau, I'm just not on board. I'm very excited to start boosting him back up. Guys like Romo Dunze, I'm starting to move up a little bit because the more I watch guys, so I was watching Troy Fautanu last night, guard, well, he was a tackle, but he probably will be a guard. 99% chance will be a guard in the NFL out of Washington. And it was like, okay, you know what? My grade for him after the catch is too low. So let's boost it. I'm always willing to correct it because, again, my scouting reports aren't supposed to push an agenda. It's just supposed to be what I honestly see with my eyes. And, who doesn't want to see more awesome players? JT Tuimalau is one of those guys where I haven't really seen it on a down-to-down basis. I heavily value the later games in the season because that's kind of the player they are now, not the player they were. And just seeing him alone against Georgia, he was a shell of the man who was versus Penn State. I don't like one-hit wonders. One-hit wonders show that they belong in the league. Now, show it again. Be more consistent. And the consistency just wasn't there for me. I didn't like it very much. I didn't see the explosiveness that he showed in that game. And it's good to know he has it. But the ultimate test is, can you do it on a down-to-down basis? Because you don't play one game in the NFL. You play 17 a year. And if you're only good for one game, probably not going to stick to a roster. I think he can definitely boost up. I think he will eventually go back up my board. But for now, I have to be a realist and say that I'm not a fan of JT Tuimoloau, but I think edge rusher is the right position for the Bears because it's a position they have obviously seeked out even in free agency. Commanders going JC Latham. I saw that somebody said he was 360 pounds. Even right now, it's reported 335. I'm not a huge fan of JC Latham. I also know that they're probably going to be trying to aim for a left tackle in the future, not really a right tackle. Pretty sure Wiley came in over the offseason, and he's a serviceable dude more than Cornelius Lucas and the dudes that they have there on the left side of the line. So I'd be focusing definitely on the left side right at the moment. Amarius Mims, he has left and right tackle versatility apparently, so you guys can definitely take advantage of that. He's also just a lot better as a player overall. JC Latham has a lot of work to do, and no disrespect, but I don't trust the development that the Commanders have with their offensive linemen. I want a guy like JC to go where he has an elite mentor. Hate to rub it into you Washington fans, but Trent Williams, great mentor. Terran Armstead, great mentor. So there's just much better spots for him to go. And my official evaluation of him is going to be heavily valued post-draft because it's one of those guys that I feel has the potential, but is not going to reach it with a mediocre O-line coach. So take it as you will. I don't really, no disrespect to y'all, but I don't trust the development. I haven't seen the development with your own guys to really want JC Latham, but I think tackle is a great position to go. I just would much more heavily value a different tackle at that spot that has a higher floor. Atlanta Falcons and going Kalen King. They've been looking for a corner too for a hot minute, and Kalen King is a stud. I think this would be perfect for him. Pairing him up with AJ Terrell would never be a bad idea. There's not much more I really can say about that. I do think that Atlanta will probably be in the playoffs, so take that as you will as well. Texans from Cleveland go Brock Bowers. A lot of people think Cleveland's going to be a lot better. Bowers at this point is a no-brainer. He should have probably, if I had to plug, well, obviously right there, even the Bears could have used him. Maybe not the Broncos, but, honestly, the Patriots, I think the Patriots would have been the team to take him in reality, but Brock Bowers is a super weapon. He deserves all the credit that he gets. Just maybe not the king of the hill. I don't think he's the best tight end to come out. He's a really good one, and maybe if he continues to improve and refine his route running, which is still solid, but, up to that Kyle Pitts level and after the catchability up to Kyle Pitts level, then, we could talk about that. But he is on the Mount Rushmore. So we'll put it that way. He's a really good player. Green Bay Packers, then going Jerzon Newton out of Illinois, who is my interior defensive lineman number 2, tied for number 1, but, who gives a crap? Jerzon's an awesome player. I think that he does not use his speed to power very well. He's more that technician. I was talking about Olu Fashanu on the offensive side being more of a technician than a mauler. Jerzon's the exact opposite side of the line, but the same story. He is really good at getting off blocks. He knows how to do hand fighting. He knows where to put his hands. He knows how to use proper leverage to be able to get in the right spots. But when it comes to pushing, you do not see the offensive lineman budge. He does not have a great impact, and that's my biggest issue because he has so much just pure potential. He is extremely athletic, but he is yet to unlock that speed to power game. And if he does, and he's not just shedding and he's actually bulldozing offensive linemen, we could see somebody who is up there on that Fletcher Cox tier, which this is kind of projecting him to get into that range. And I'm hoping that he ends up doing that. But for now, again, got to temper expectations. You got Chop Robinson for the Buccaneers, a guy that a lot of people love. And I didn't fall in love with him. That's not saying that he can't end up getting to that tier. I want to see a lot more development and consistency from him. But the Buccaneers going after another edge rusher, I don't personally agree with this. Surprising to see the Buccaneers this far down the draft order. But, if they are in the middle of the road, most likely the reason they didn't make the playoffs is not because of an edge rusher. The edge rusher is not going to set them forward. It's going to be maybe because of an offensive lineman, where this is where you can go after Amarius Mims if you are somehow dead set on Wirfs being a left tackle, which I think is stupid, but do your own thing. But you could look at a quarterback at this spot. There's plenty of good ones. I just think there's better options. I'll scroll down for you guys as well, so you guys get to see a little bit more. Johnny Wilson right there, but Johnny Wilson's going to be Jalen Wilson, Braylon Trice are going to be two of my guys in this draft. Chop Robinson, the edge rushing position is not going to make him any better. So I think this is a little bit of a wasted pick. No disrespect to the writer, but Chop is a hyper developmental edge rusher. It's a team that does have time, but there's a lot of veterans on this squad that I'd personally try to get someone a little bit more of a day one impact. And, that's just not something that's going to move the needle. There's Rome Odunze. Speaking of the guy who I was just talking about, he's right now, I believe, my wide receiver 15, and he has great size. I just don't see it with him. I don't. I see the after catch ability, but I don't really think he's a good route runner. I think he's a very solid athlete, but I just don't see it yet. And I base my opinion on all 22. I'll be 100% honest. There's very limited all 22 out there on him. And a lot of the things I love about him come from games that I haven't seen the full route. And that scares me. That shows that he's good after the catch. Awesome. But now put it more into practice. Now be a route running technician, because when the corner is lined up on your hip, I had the same issue with David Bell. It's like when the corner is lined up on your hip and you don't have separation, who gives a damn if you can break a tackle? Because you got to get the ball in your hands. So unless you're schemed open, that's not going to happen. I don't think Rome Odunze is on that level. Obviously, David Bell had a lot more athletic limitations, and David Bell is still a solid player. But Rome Odunze he lacks that pure route running savvy that I love. Did an amazing double move against, I think it was UCLA, and that's awesome. It's awesome to see he has that. But now do it on a consistent basis, because you need to get open, and I don't trust it. Yet. Keyword is yet. Chargers going Mason Smith. I love the idea of having an edge rusher / defensive interior at 6'6", 300. He's not that big of a guy. 6'6", 300 is not built like a pure stout interior defensive lineman. That's why he's played edge quite a bit. He's a really weird, freakish dude, but I'm excited to see what he's going to do after that ACL tear. Again, he tore it while celebrating, which is extremely unfortunate, but I don't make my opinions on players based on pre-major injuries, because to me, it doesn't matter. You're the player you are now, not the player you were then. Steelers going Jeremiah Trotter. It is a very likely option for us to go after a linebacker, but given the fact that we have yet to really spend a lot of money on key linebacker additions, I don't know how much we value it. So I'm a little bit concerned by saying this, but I don't know if we're actually going to end up going after a linebacker high for quite a while, because it's just worrisome. But our free agency moves just do not show it. We haven't done it in the draft. We haven't done it here. We had, a shot late 2 at being able to, or mid to late 2 at getting Trenton Simpson, or moving back or moving up. We had a killer draft. But I'm saying, the idea of an off-ball linebacker, there were dudes who were slipping, and we decided to go against it. So I have to bring that up there, but I would love it nonetheless. Vikings going Denzel Burke. I do think corners is a big position that they need to address. So this is a great guy for that. And I think he's a good system fit. So I think he's a good guy to add there at 18. He just had a little bit of an off year, but he ended up getting better as the season went on. And that's all I care about. Saints going Mecca Buka. I love it. Chris Olave and him are actually a really good dynamic duo. Like, he is, more the bigger after the catch guy, even though he's a really good route runner. Chris Olave is obviously the route running specialist. So continuing on, we have Cooper Beebe. I have him as my number 64 guy in the class, which is still very solid. I want him to be with a good O-line coach. And, even if he's like, I'm not well versed in who the best O-line coaches are, I'm just going to admit it. I do believe that having Terran Armstead there to learn and teach the techniques and more the finesse of the game, that's perfect. So I'm in full support of going after Cooper Beebe. Not this high for the Dolphins, because I think tackle, especially right tackle, is much more of a need, especially guys like Amarius Mims on the board, Kingsley Suamataia. Like, that's going to be the position I pound until I really can't. And there's not that many great right tackles in this class. There's some really good ones, but Cooper Beebe is still he's still a valuable addition. It's just there's some good guards in this class. I don't feel like you need to force one this early. New York Giants then going Xavier Worthy. They need to get a wide receiver 1. I know that I'm more of the hater on Xavier Worthy, but simply put, I was far from wow. I was very disappointed because I wanted him to end up being my wide receiver 1. Honestly, you see my preseason mock drafts; those are like what I want players to be. And Xavier Worthy was one of those guys who I wanted to end up being like my wide receiver 3. He just ended up not being that, and he's like wide receiver 11 or 12, which is still solid. He's still a solid receiver. Again, when I knock a player, it's because the consensus is very high on him. So I want to bring up that not everything is, I forget what the something in roses, but not everything is perfect with the player. I don't think he's that great of a route runner. I don't. I love the fact that he's had a year where he's had sub 5% drop rate. That's good. I think that, he has at least good height to him. But I don't like a thin guy who is not Tank Dell level of route running. I think that if you lack the size, at least make up for it with the finesse of the game. And I didn't really see that. And more importantly for the Giants, you should be looking for an X wide receiver. You're supposed to get that with Kenny Golladay. Sorry to hit a nerve, but I think that getting after someone like Keon Coleman, who's 6'4" and 215, or Johnny Wilson, 6'7", 240, both Florida State guys, those would be excellent additions. You could also even go after A.D. Mitchell, who's on the same team. It's just a better system fit because you already have good deep threats. You do. So there's no real reason to continue diversifying your deep threats because that's exactly what all this team has done, and that's why they still have a big question mark as to whether the receiving core is fulfilled. And it's just, you just don't have an X-build receiver yet. You can, but you don't with that pick. Detroit Lions going Leonard Taylor is one of my favorite picks that you can do. That Leonard Taylor to the Lions or to the Seahawks, that's probably going to be a pick I give an A+. Ravens, let me see. Is it Cooper? Yeah. I don't think Cooper DeJean is the best option here. I think Cooper DeJean is going to end up being a safety. He's too stiff for me. Really, really athletic, but just not fluid as an athlete. He's going to be a top-tier safety. He's really good in the run support. I just don't believe that he has the ability to flip his hips and change directions at an NFL pace. I just don't. But I think that if you do put him as a pure safety, he can use that speed and that run supporting ability and the fact that he's a pick 6 machine to his advantage. And I think he'd be a really damn good one. The Ravens are one of those squads where they don't need that. That's one of the squads where they just need a bona fide corner. So maybe somebody who I would recommend for them. We already saw Denzel Burke go off the board, but someone who I actually really love right here is Jason Marshall. I think he'd be an excellent addition. So that's somebody who I would potentially reach for. Kamari Lassiter, who needs a lot of refinement, but he's probably going to run the 4.2s, if not very low 4.3s. Another great addition, but I want Cooper to go to a spot that he could really just test out where the hell he belongs. And right there, he's pigeonholed into the one role, and I don't like that. Speaking of a team that would have been great for him, you got the Packers then going after a safety. Andrew Makuba. I haven't yet to dive into the safety class that much. I love the Miami safeties, and then I love Kalen Bullock. So I like them more than Makuba at the moment, but that's not based off of Makuba's tape study. So that's a TBD. I do think safety is a good position for the Packers. Niners then going Jack Sawyer. Feels like a Niners thing to do, but I think Jack Sawyer, he has a lot of processing issues where he just goes and does not know where the ball is. It's a big issue when the ball goes right past Sawyer's face with a jet sweep to, again, I'm going to mention this Georgia game, to Brock Bowers, and Jack Sawyer doesn't know where it is, and it crosses his face. So I do think that there is a mental processing error, but one of the best run-stuffing edge defenders in the class when he knows where the ball is. And, just a ton of potential there. I think it'd be an excellent round 2 addition for a team that has a working system and a really good mentor there. But round 1, I'm heavily focusing on offensive line or defensive back for the Niners. Seahawks then going Barrett Carter here. Linebacker's a good position for them to go. I hope that, I don't know if Bobby Wagner is going to be there for more than 1 year. I forget if his contract says that, but, I think that if he's there for one more year, then Barrett Carter is going to be a nice addition. I don't know what his weight is at the moment because right now it's listed at 225, but that's a preseason statistic. So I'm intrigued to see if he ended up getting up to 235, 240, because that would make me feel a lot more comfortable. Bills then going Malik Neighbors. I think a lot of people have been wondering who's going to emerge as a top tier, like number 2. Gabe Davis has done a great job, but he's not even a solidified pure number 2, and that might piss people off. So I apologize for that, but he's not the number 2 that is required in the NFL for Super Bowls. He's somebody who can step up into that role very well in key moments, but on a down-to-down basis, again, consistency is key. He doesn't feel like a pure, bona fide wide receiver 2 fringe 1 that plays number 2. He feels like a number 2 maybe can get up to those moments where, you kind of have to have 2 1s at this moment. And Gabe Davis is a clear number 2 at best. So Malik Neighbors is somebody after the catch is God tier, just in terms of statistics. But, he's somebody who I continue boosting up here and there. I do think not the best route runner, but that might not be the role that he needs to be. So it's a good spot for him to grow and develop, even though I think linebacker, safety, potentially even maybe another corner spot is always a good place to go. Wide receiver is not a bad one. You got the Jaguars then going Michael Hall. I don't like Michael Hall that much. I have him, I believe, past my 100 mark. He just, not great size. He has good length, but just not great production. They get lost quite a bit. Most of these Ohio State defenders, I have that issue with them. Their post-snap processing, not great. And I don't know if that's a tape issue because it's a really consistent thing with the defensive linemen that I've seen from Ohio State is low IQ grades. And it's not saying they're stupid people, but on the field, they don't process well. I just don't think that he's necessarily that great of a defensive lineman. He has a lot of potential, but a lot of other players have a lot of potential. It's what I'll use when I don't fully like a prospect in the range and want to justify it is like, oh, they're going to bet on the potential. But Tyleik Williams is 20 to 30 pounds heavier and is a lot better. It has the same length. So I don't get this. I know a lot of people love him. I don't. Dallas Cowboys then going Rocket Sanders. After hitting on Deuce Vaughn, I doubt that they're going to go back to the early running back well. Both of their running backs, I think. Pollard might have been a 6th-round pick as well. So I think Pollard and Vaughn have both been 6th-round picks. They're going to go more of that value route and just continue to snag good guys who fall down the board at a very low value position. Go offensive line here, go corner here, go linebacker here. Running back, not so much. Bengals go right tackle and Kingsley Suamataia. I'm in full support of this. I'm not going to disagree with this whatsoever. I think that the right tackle spot has yet to be filled. Even though Orlando Brown Jr. has played right tackle, I think Orlando Brown Jr. should stay at the left. And if Kingsley is here, put him at the right. Jonah Williams, not a fan of him. And Lyle Collins, not a fan of him. I was a fan when he got signed, but just hasn't lived up to that potential. So Kingsley would be a great addition. We'll scroll down a little bit more so you guys get to see a little bit more of my board that is starting to be fully filled out. Chiefs going Gadsden. Wow. That's a reach. And I like Gadsden. I thought I was really high on him. This dude's 223 pounds as a slot tight end who will probably run 4.7 at best, maybe 4.8. He's a slow player. Smooth, but slow. There's no reason in hell to take Gadsden. I'm just going to be completely honest. I think tight end's a very smart position to go. He's not a tight end. He is a slot tight end. And I would rather get a tight end that weighs a little bit more, runs faster, and maybe runs slightly worse routes. Even guys like Lachey, because I continue having a resident, I think, Iowa Hawkeyes fan in here that recorrects my damn grammar every time I talk about Luke Lackey, but it's Lachey, which is actually kind of badass, I'm not going to lie. But there's a lot better tight ends here. A lot better tight ends for this system. This guy's a pretty much what you're going to have in Rashee Rice, but Rashee Rice is faster. Worse hands than Gadsden, but doesn't make sense. Then you got the Eagles ending off with a Braylon Trice, who is my number 7 overall player in the draft. Obviously, y'all know what I think about that, but it's a great player. He is. I think they could end up going after Kamari Lassiter because 1, Georgia corner. 1, Georgia. 2, corner. 3, Georgia corner. So I think that would be probably the move that they would go. But Braylon Trice is an exceptional option. I know that defensive line depth is going to be something they're looking for, and this guy could step up in a huge way. So that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.